Let me go to Sawyer Hackett. Sawyer is somebody we've had our eye on social media. He's been lighting it up. I've known Sawyer for some time because Sawyer, you were an aide to, I believe, was it Congressman Joaquin Castro? Was that it back in the day? Was it Julian Castro? One of the Castro brothers, I believe. And you've been in
his brother Julian. That's right.
That's right. And you've been involved in Democratic politics for some time. And I guess lately you've been on social media. I see you on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're everywhere. And I wanted to talk to you because, I'm wondering what you think about what's happening with this government shutdown right now, the cruelty that we're seeing on display by Donald Trump. He's putting in ballrooms and bathrooms while, people are waiting in food lines and going without SNAP benefits and so on. And wanted to get a sense as to what you thought as to how the Democrats are handling this.
Yeah, Jim, thanks for having me. Yeah. I jumped into the content business, right after Trump was elected again. I was consulting before that, working for politicians and, advising them on political strategy. But I decided, shortly after he won that I wanted to do something else. And I wanted to kind of channel some of the skills that I picked up, communication skills, to put something out on my own channel, to, go out there and put myself out there. And I've really enjoyed it. And so I've tried to, break down the news a little bit. I've done it with cooking videos. I've done it with some deep dives into the biggest news stories, but really trying to give people my perspective on the situation that we're seeing. And really, Jim, this has got to be one of the weirdest shutdowns I think we've ever had as a country. I was once a federal employee who was furloughed during a government shutdown, and it was the biggest story. It was headline top of the newspaper every single day. This shutdown has kind of faded into the background because of all of the chaos, right? But I think it's important, right? Because, Democrats are in the political wilderness, and we have been for some time. We're leaderless, we're rudderless. We don't have, agreement among the factions about what kind of message we want to have as a party. But we've picked this fight and really zeroed in on the issue of healthcare to show the American people that we're fighting back against Trump, his abuses, but also trying to deliver for them. I think it's a good fight. I mean, I would love to be in a place where we were shutting down the government to say, to stop all of Trump's abuses. But really, I think the Democrats chose wisely in zeroing in on one issue that they could explain to the American people why they're fighting for them. And so I applaud them for that. And I think, Trump and Republicans continue to dig themselves their own hole, whether it's, laying off using the shutdown to lay off federal workers, to cancel funding for critical programs for American families, to trying
SNAP benefits.
To stop paying SNAP benefits. It's absurd.
I don't get the political advantage there. And it was amazing to see Brooke Rollins, the Agriculture Secretary, just admit on camera that they're failing the American people. I mean, she literally did that. I assume over at the White House, they're going to be pissed off that she said that, but it's true. They are failing the American people. And when you intentionally try to deprive people of food stamps, SNAP benefits, food assistance, that's just the height of heartlessness. And it's something that Democrats should be just running. I mean, that video right there should be in an ad before the end of the weekend, I would think. But, who knows?
And I expect it will be. But, I also think they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. The way they lie about what they can and can't spend money on, that they have to be firing these workers, that they have to be canceling these programs. I mean, with the judge now ruling that they have to use these contingency funds to pay those SNAP benefits, it really just is a self-own, because now, they've gone on the record and say that they can't do this, and this is Democrats' fault. And if you're not getting this funding to feed your family, it's Democrats' fault. And now a judge is out there saying, no, absolutely, you need to pay these benefits. And I think people can see through that pretty clearly.
Yeah, no, there's no question. And I want to show one of your videos. We've got a couple of videos to play. Sawyer does these great vertical videos for Instagram. And one of them was on Bovino, this guy that is the head of the CBP. And you sort of did an explainer video on him. I thought it was very smart. And let's play it and talk about him, because he's sort of like this. Everybody focuses on Stephen Miller, but there are other menacing figures behind the scenes. Right. And this guy is one of them. Let's play this.
You need to know about the man leading Trump's secret police. This is Gregory Bovino, the commander-at-large of U.S. Border Patrol. Bovino has led Trump's mass deportation force in L.A. and Chicago, with other cities coming soon. Bovino has been with Border Patrol for decades, but after Trump was elected, this small man decided to put on a big show for Chancellor Trump. In early January, before Trump was inaugurated, Bovino led an immigration raid in Bakersfield, California, 6 hours north of the border and outside of his jurisdiction, arresting 78 farm workers and day laborers, 77 of whom had no criminal record whatsoever. That performative raid caught the eye of the incoming Trump administration, who tapped him for the lead role of enforcer in their mass deportation production. It was Bovino who led agents on horseback through MacArthur Park in LA, forcing children at summer camp to flee. It was Bovino who was tapped to lead Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, where he was seen throwing a gas canister at civilians. And it was Bovino who was seen this week cosplaying as a military commander, giving goofy tactical hand signals to a bunch of officers on bicycles. And it looks like Bovino is headed for an even bigger role. This week, the Trump administration carried out a midnight massacre at ICE, firing or reassigning half of the agency's leadership and replacing them with loyalists at Border Patrol, known for their heavy-handed tactics. But while the tough guy theatrics might impress Trump, one federal judge isn't buying his act. After Bovino's agents tear-gassed protesters and reporters in Chicago, U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis ordered him to appear in court every single day, personally, to account for his operation and compliance with the law. It's important to remember that behind all the propaganda, the trench coat, the hand signals, the produced videos, are a bunch of small, insecure men auditioning for a role in Trump's regime. We shouldn't fear them. We should mock them. So share this video to spread the word.
I wholly endorse that, and it's true. Greg Bovino, you don't want to make ad hominem attacks, but it is sort of a Napoleon complex that appears to be going on here. And then you're right with what's he doing with the hand motions in that video and stuff like that. I mean this is some weird shit.
This guy has turned like immigration enforcement into a performance art, and I think. The reason why I wanted to do that video is first because I think it's important to characterize what these people are doing, because it is cosplaying, it's play acting. Right. They're trying to put on a show for Donald Trump. It's a one-man show for Donald Trump, and him doing those hand signals, looking like he's like sending out his platoon out to the beaches. It looks like
Mussolini
absurd.
Or something. Yeah,
right. He's in Chicago, and he's in a pickup truck which he's driving, and he's signaling to a bunch of cops on bicycles. Like, it's so silly, and I think it's really important. Of course, it's scary. Of course, these ICE and Border Patrol, they're terrorizing neighborhoods and communities and tearing apart families, but at the end of the day, like, we have to be able to point and laugh at these people, because we shouldn't be afraid of them. Right. They're breaking the law brazenly. The cruelty is clearly their point, but also they're a bunch of losers. And I think we should say that. And, you may not want the ad hominem attacks, but I think we should give them some ad hominem attacks when they're terrorizing families.
I will, and I mean, they're bozos, and he looks like a bozo out there when it almost looks like, they don't like to get called the Gestapo, but that's some Gestapo-looking shit right there. With the weird the trench coat and the hand motions, and
he went out and bought that trench coat at some vintage store, and then took his little patches in to the to get them sewn on, and then showed up to a CNN interview wearing
Bastards or something. He thinks this is a Tarantino movie.
And then when he's not wearing that, he's in full battle regalia in the streets of Chicago, as if he's facing some sort of insurgency. It's absurd, and I think the American people see right through this stuff. They think it's absurd too, but I think it's important that we not play into the fear. And, that's what this is all about, right? They're putting on this performance for Trump, but they're also doing it to try and scare people. And I think we need to be able to, counter that with, telling people about the facts about what's going on, about who they're targeting with these raids, citizens being arrested and detained. But also we need to mock them a little bit, because, I think people see it.
No, I'm all about that. And I'm a big fan of the don't give in to the fear approach. That's been one of my mantras since getting started here on independent media, and I absolutely try to drive that message home as much as possible. I'm wondering, since you've worked in Democratic politics a long time, if you think the Democrats are using the right playbook, or are they all over the place, and that's part of the problem. You've got some in leadership who can get the job done, and you have others who are they just fold, or they want to go along to get along. They're institutionalists, they're establishment people. I mean, what have you been able to put your finger on it? What bugs you about what you're seeing from the party?
I think, the Democratic Party is where we are because we had 4 years of a Biden administration that was unable to articulate an agenda, a vision for what we stood for as a country or as a party. And right now we're left leaderless, essentially. We had Joe Biden's kind of faded to the background. Kamala Harris is out on her book tour. Obviously, she didn't win the election. She's still very much in the mix, but we don't have a central figure who's able to kind of marshal the party behind them and rally behind a message. And so you see a lot of people trying different things. And I think what you're going to see over the next few years is, which is the best kind of strategy that wins out. And I think, you're seeing politicians like Gavin Newsom are trying different things. JB Pritzker, these guys are more in the kind of fight back lane. And then you have others who are kind of, soft pedaling it a little bit, try and just get through these 4 years, get to 2028 so they can, launch their primary campaigns. I think everyone's trying different stuff. And I think, we kind of need to throw it all out there and see what sticks.
Yeah, no. And I think there's sort of there's a march, or there's some momentum. I shouldn't say march because that sounds like everybody's in unison. There's some momentum in the direction of fighting back and getting tougher. And we're seeing that with the government shutdown right now. We're seeing that with what Pritzker is doing, what Newsom is doing. I agree with all of that. But we should have, one of the things I like about what you do, what we like about what you do, Sawyer, is that you have a little fun with this, and you incorporate cooking into some of your videos. And let's play a little bit of that and talk about why you do that. I thought it was brilliant. And I thought, okay, this is great. Because I like to do this too. I like to put the phone down, put all the screens away, and just start cooking. And it's one of the best ways to take your mind off things. But let's watch a little bit and talk about it.
Question for you while I make steak sandwiches. Is the Trump presidency going as you expected? I've always been extremely clear about who I think Trump is and what his goals are for a second term, but even I have to admit, I didn't expect things to go quite like this. Sure, he spelled out a lot of his agenda in Project 2025, but we're way beyond that at this point. Because if you told me last year that within 9 months Trump would create foreign prison camps, assemble an army of masked police, rig election maps ahead of the midterms, and bulldoze the East Wing of the White House, I would have said that you were crazy, and I think most conservatives would have said the same thing. The truth is, we're living through an authoritarian takeover attempt, and I get how hyperbolic that sounds, and I know many of you still have your doubts, and trust me, I've had mine too. There were times I thought it was just about trolling and owning the libs. There were times that I thought it was just about money and corruption, but it's much bigger than that. The difference between Trump's first term and his second is the people around him. He's gotten rid of anyone who might check his impulses or steer him towards normalcy, and he's surrounded himself and empowered fascist sycophants like Stephen Miller. They don't just want to beat Democrats or reshape the government. They want to reshape society, and they do it by slowly normalizing things like prosecuting their enemies or putting troops in the streets. That's how authoritarianism works. It's the slow boil of our democracy. You don't realize you're cooking until it's too late. So don't let them normalize it. Speak out, share this video, and follow me to learn how we can keep fighting back.
Okay, first of all, now I need to eat because, but let's talk about that. I mean, I like the approach. And was that provolone there at the, first of all, it looked like a chimichurri you had going there. I mean, there was a lot going on there. Tell us about this.
I grew up in a family that loves to cook. My dad has been in the restaurant business for 30 plus years. I learned a lot from him, and I think in the pandemic, I really kind of accelerated my cooking game and spent a lot of time in the kitchen. It's really one of my passions, one of my hobbies, and so is politics. And so, when I decided to get into the content biz, I decided to kind of merge those two. I think as a way to help the medicine go down a little bit. I love watching cooking videos on TikTok, on Instagram, and I think providing a little bit of context on kind of the moment we're in as a country or some of the news that's taking place while giving somebody something to watch while they take it in. That was kind of what I was thinking. And really it's just become a source of, it's video essays. I get to kind of give my perspective on the news, not just break down the news, not just talk about what's happening, but also my opinions on what's going on. And so I kind of put together these little video essays and try to pair them with a dish that I'm making each week. And I've been posting, one each week at this point. I'm trying to do a lot more, but they take a lot of time to put together. But I love cooking. I love politics. And I think we're in a really scary moment. And so I think, being able to kind of merge those two and help the medicine go down a little bit while giving people a little bit of perspective, I think that's kind of the thought behind it. But
yeah, and you've got to figure out
yeah,
ways to get that message across and do it in a way that just looks different when people are doing their scrolling, and then there's you. And I don't know if we can go back and play just a tiny bit of that video, but there's some music there. There's something else cooking there besides the steak, Sawyer. I don't know. I think some of the viewers at home might be saying, "Oy, muy caliente." You know, what's happening
yeah.
here?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, like I had no
I don't mean to
video
make you
editing
blush. I'm
skills.
not saying that, Sawyer. I think
Yeah.
you're a handsome guy, but you know.
Thank you. No, I love doing it. I don't really love being on camera. Surprise, surprise. It's not my favorite thing to do. And content, jumping into content in my 30s was not something I had on my to-do list. But I really love being able to kind of combine my two passions, cooking and politics. And
the Trump,
I hope to do a lot more of it soon. Do you do any cooking yourself, Jim?
I do. Listen, I try to do as much cooking as I can. And I made a lasagna this week. It wasn't that fancy. Nothing to write home about. If I can get some time to make some Cuban food, because my dad's Cuban, so every once in a while I like to make a little Cuban food. I can make a decent shrimp Creole. I can make a decent arroz con pollo. There are some things that I can do that are not too bad. They're pretty decent. My goal is, we're showing some beef right there. In addition to the beef that you were showing with those guns there. I don't know about that story, but anyway, I was thinking maybe I should try a ropa vieja soon. But anyway, your thoughts.
It's funny you brought up Cuban food, because I just finished filming a Cuban sandwich I did like a marinade with this like mojo pork. I don't know if you've seen that movie Chef, that Jon
Yes, I love that movie.
And I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. The other guy. Anyway, a great movie, but they make this great Cuban sandwich that they sell out of the food truck. And I decided to kind of recreate that while I was at my parents' house this weekend. And it was a lot of fun cooking with my parents, but I'm hoping to put that video out soon. I'm not really sure what the message is going to be, but I love a Cuban sandwich. Love Cuban food.
Love a good Cuban sandwich. And you're a sandwich guy. I like the steak sandwich. It's a great idea. When you get to be my age, or the carbs get to be an issue. But no, Cuban sandwich. And as I like to say, only the Cubans are crazy enough to combine ham and pork in a sandwich. And those are my people. So I can say that. You can't go wrong. So Sawyer, is this your new gig now? This is what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm still doing a little bit of consulting. I actually still do some work for Congressman Joaquin Castro.
Okay.
But besides that, the content is really 100% what I'm dedicating my time to. So each day I'm here in the studio, kind of filming videos about what's going on in the news, and then in the kitchen trying to cook up some dishes that I can pair with some of that political commentary. So I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And like I said at the top, like it's really been rewarding, I think, to kind of use the skills that I harnessed over 12 years working in Democratic politics, on behalf of politicians, to be able to kind of channel that for myself and put stuff out on my own has been really, I think, rewarding. And also, I think, people just are looking for something different right now. And I think there's really a lot of like news fatigue happening. But at the same time, people do need to stay alert, stay informed, and be paying attention, because the attention wars are really kind of the whole game right now in politics. And Donald Trump is excellent at the attention wars. And so part of this, I think, is grabbing people's attention with something a little bit different. And I try to use the cooking to do that.
Well, yeah, and Trump's, in the meantime, there's a government shutdown. SNAP benefits are about to end, and he's putting out pictures of the new bathroom that they've installed at the White House in the Lincoln bedroom. There it is again. What the fuck is happening? This is unreal. I will engage in ad hominem attacks on this. This is bananas. Bananas.
It would have been absurd for any other president, politician, whatever, to leave the country in the middle of a government shutdown. And that's like not even a blip on the news radar. He tore down the East Wing of the White House in the middle of a shutdown. He's, remodeling his bathroom and posting about it online. There are so many issues in this country right now.
I really don't want to see his shitter. I'll just put that out there too. It's a Friday, so I'm just going to be loose here. But these are things that I wish I could unsee. But
I'm surprised it's not gold. Everything else in the White House.
That's a good point.
The Oval Office just looks tacky, and it's very like, Gaddafi before the fall of Gaddafi. It's like these weird royal palaces.
Elvis. Yeah, it's the last tour. It's the last Elvis residency in Las Vegas kind of vibe.
And he seems to relish in like his design prowess and loves to talk about his ability to build things and his design and the ugliness of certain things. He hates, ugly lawns or ugly he's the most tacky, like poor taste man I've ever seen. It's like
True.
zero taste whatsoever. And like when you have the combination of like somebody who cares deeply about the aesthetics but also has no taste whatsoever, it's just like the worst possible combination.
It is not a good combination at all. And all that gold stuff in the Oval Office, and then he's holding up the golden ballroom that he wants to build and name after himself, and then the bathroom. I'm just like,
But I think this is like one more thing we should point and laugh at them, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they all have their own little things, and it's not just Gregory Bovino, who is obviously this short little man who wants to put on this performance for Donald Trump, but they're all like this. I mean, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, Donald Trump,
True.
They all have these characteristics that they put them completely out of the ordinary with the American public. And we spend so much time talking about the cruelty, talking about the pain, talking about all the horrible things that he's doing. And we should be talking about those things. But also, we should talk about how out of touch they are just with normality of the American people. Like these guys are not normal. Yeah,
it's
so
a freak
weird.
show. It's a total freak show. There's no.
I actually thought that was like one of the better messages coming out of that 2024 cycle. Like these guys are just weirdos. They're losers.
Yes.
They're weirdos. And like we should talk about that more because they're the ones who are bullying us and they're the losers. Like, and we're losing to them. And so we shouldn't be losing to such losers.
You're absolutely right. No, it's a great point. And Sawyer, I'm so glad we did this. Let's do this again. And we'll be on the lookout for your videos on Instagram, on TikTok too, right? You're blowing up on TikTok as well. Is that correct? Thanks. And dude, way to go, man. Great
Thanks,
stuff.
Jim. I appreciate it. And I don't know if you know this, but we are actually alums of the same college.
Is that what?
Yeah, JMU.
You went to James Madison? Oh my goodness. I did not know that. See the skills that, that people don't quite realize coming out of Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Go Dukes.
Go Dukes. Awesome. Well, great stuff. Sorry, you keep doing what you're doing, man. You're blowing past me. I'll be coming on your show, hopefully, if you'll have me. Well,
I'm hoping to put something together soon, some sort of show with guests or something like that. Maybe it's cooking, maybe it's not, but would love to do some cooking with you at some point. Then talk.
I do a badass buffalo chicken dip. I will say on Super Bowl. That's my go-to. Buffalo
That's coming
chicken.
up.
That's coming up, man. Good to see you, man. Go Dukes. All right, great to see you.
Good to see you, Jim. Thanks,
Sawyer. Appreciate it. I'm feeling a little looser now, which is great. Yes, it is Halloween. We're very excited to be coming to you on this Halloween. Happy Halloween to all of you. I do want to say before we get going, and my producer Sam is trying to get Duke. We're trying to see if Duke will materialize. I should have brought a treat. Oh, I can hear him. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. Where's Duke? Is Duke coming in here? Duke, where are you? Come here, buddy. Come here. Oh, your cape's all screwed up. I've got Dookie right here. Come here, buddy. Where's the treat? Where's the treat? Come here. Come here. There he is. Hold on. I'll just let everybody into the madness of my life. There's Duke. He's dressed up as Super Dog. He's yawning right now. Duke, say hi to everybody, buddy. No, there you go. Okay, no. that's about as much as you're going to get unless I have a treat. Come here. You want me to take off? You want to take off the cape? You don't like the cape? What is it? Huh? What is it? Come here. Come here. Come here. You want to sit up? You want to stand up? Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, no. All right. One more look at Duke. There he goes. No. All right. That's about all you're going to get. He's out of here. I did want to say, because it's the end of the week, and I try to not lay it on too thick during the week when it comes to the importance of subscribers like yourselves. But I will say on this Halloween, in a trick or a treat, I do want to mention this, and that is all of our major TV networks. And this is going to be a somewhat serious note here. All of our major TV networks right now, they're compromised in some fashion as the U.S. evolves or mutates into having a state-dominated TV system. NBC is now the latest network to compromise itself. The parent company of NBC, Comcast, recently donated money to Trump's ballroom. Add that to the bribes that ABC and CBS paid to Trump earlier this year, not to mention CBS being taken over by right-wing zealots. And of course, we all know what's happening over at Fox, which is already state TV. You have a situation in this country that is starting to seem like state dominated television in the United States, or at least state compromised television here in the United States. Add to that what's happened at the Washington Post, and you get the idea, and so on and on and on. Folks, media companies owned by giant corporations that are worried about getting their merger and acquisition deals approved by the Trump administration have lost their way. They have forgotten that they are using the public airwaves to sell their product. The airwaves belong to us, not to the corporations, not to Donald Trump. And the way we have to fight back is that we hold the feet of these corporations to the fire. And we do that by supporting independent media. And so I just wanted to throw in that pitch there. That is why independent media is so important to me these days. I hope it's important to you. I don't have corporate executives who get pissed off every time I slam Donald Trump for acting like a dictator. And I will say this, I'm just going to end on this note. Check out the New York Times. They just came out with a piece for this weekend on the top signs on whether or not we are losing our democracy. And one of them is that the leader of a country is taking control of the media. And according to the New York Times, Trump is on his way to doing that just as we speak. And that is something that we all need to be careful of. We all need to guard ourselves against these signs of our democracy backsliding. The New York Times piece also talks about using the military in domestic law enforcement settings, coming up with rationale that is faulty for sending the military into cities and towns across the United States. That is another sign that is outlined by the New York Times. And it goes on and on like this. And I just encourage everybody out there. I think it's a really important piece to take a look at it this weekend. It struck a chord with me as being something very important. Number 9, for example, an authoritarian tries to take over universities. Trump has started to do that. This piece talks about. But one of the warning signs of a country slipping into authoritarianism is the state taking control of the news media or having control over the news media. Folks, you can't have corporations, giant corporations, in charge of these media companies and in charge of news divisions like NBC, ABC, and CBS, or else we're going to get news organizations that are afraid to be aggressive, afraid to report the facts, afraid to hold the feet of the administration to the fire. And that's some of what we're starting to see right now. We're starting to see those kinds of warning signs play out at all of these different networks. And it's why I'm glad to be an independent media. And I hope you're glad that independent media exists in this country, that it's starting to just blow up. You're seeing people like Sawyer Hackett, who was on earlier, was a Democratic aide, an aide to Democratic politicians. He's now doing his own vertical videos on social media, and he's just the guy's blowing up on social media. Hundreds of thousands of people now consume his content. It's because there's a hunger, there's a thirst, there's a desire, there's a craving out there for new independent media voices telling it like it is and doing it in new and unique ways. And so we wanted to highlight that today. We have people like Olivia Troy on the show. She also is on Substack and lots of other platforms. And she's lending her national security expertise to the many voices out there in independent media. And it's just highly important to what we do right now. So, yeah, I did want to have a little fun today. That's why Olivia and I did a shot there a little while ago. But I also wanted to make sure I didn't let you go for the weekend without driving home this very important point, with Duke coming in here and rattling his collar and so on, that the media, the information that we consume in a democracy, is very important. It's critically important to the functioning of our democracy. And news organizations, journalists, reporters who work in this country, they have to be free to be able to report the news. They have to be free of any kind of corporate pressures and government pressures to get the facts to you. And if they're working for news organizations that are owned by giant corporations, and those corporations are relying on the administration to get their mergers and acquisitions and their deals through, which is what we're seeing right now by almost every major network in the country right now, then you just do the math. And it makes perfect sense that you would have a situation in this country where the media is just the national news media, the legacy media, the corporate media. It is what it is. I have to tell it like it is, folks. And they're a bit compromised right now, and more than a bit compromised. When you have Comcast as one of the donors of the Trump ballroom over at the White House, what happens to the news gathering process? What happens to the editorial process internally over there at NBC? Are they leery of covering the ballroom project? Are they leery of what Donald Trump is doing over at the White House because they have to be worried about what the corporate ownership might say? I hope that's not the case, but it sets the table for that kind of a situation to occur, for those kinds of that kind of tug of war to occur inside these companies. And we just can't have that in this country. And so that's why, long story short here, that is why independent media that is free from corporate pressures is so very important right now. It's so very important to support. And so it does make a difference. I don't want to sound like I'm begging. I don't want to sound like I'm doing a pledge drive. But when you hit subscribe, whether you pay or not, whether you hit subscribe on Substack, YouTube, wherever you get this show, it makes a difference. If you hit the like button, it makes a difference. If you watch a program and give it some of your time and attention, it makes a difference. And for the folks who are doing that now, I just want to say thank you. Really appreciate it so much. And Duke is right here right now saying thank you as well. Aren't you? Aren't you, Duke? Yeah, you are. He's right here below me with his Superman cape turned around. So really appreciate that. And all of the folks who subscribe, my understanding is that Adam Kinzinger has just joined the chat. He's in there right now. And if you're wondering why the shot is shaking, right, it's because Duke has come up to me. He's coming in for ear rubs right in the middle of this closing soliloquy. So in my Clark Kent outfit, this is what I'm doing on Halloween. Duke is Super Dog or Crypto, if you like the new Superman movie. That's what we're going as tonight on this Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. Really appreciate everybody tuning in and day out. It means so much to me. And I hope we're able to bring some kind of information and maybe just a little bit of entertainment, maybe just a tiny entertainment value to you on a regular basis on this program. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Still reporting from Washington. I'm Jim Acosta. Have a great weekend and happy Halloween. Boo.
All right.